Hi, this is Told, welcome. And today we're doing another Talking Heads video. So buckle up, Buttercup. Got a lot of reading, my most challenging thing to do. But I wanted to go over Duskmourn comes out today, so obviously, hopefully I'll get a video out later. But I wanted to just go over about 20 cards that I'm interested in building around, and then a few honorable mentions. So let's get into the cards and let's talk about them. So Doomsday Excruciator is an honorable mention for 6 black, 6/6 flying. You know, when you cast it, each player exiles all of the 6, and then, you know, at the beginning of your upkeep, you draw a card. I already made a deck around the idea of this card, kind of concept. So obviously, you know, it's just kind of an honorable mention. You know, you guys, if you're watching my channel and following me, then you know, yeah, we're going to be building around that one for sure. And then another honorable mention is Unstoppable Slasher 2 and a black for 2/3. You know, whenever it deals combat damage, player loses half their life, and then, you know, if it dies, it comes back. Got Death Touch. It's also an assassin to note, but yeah, just a good card. And obviously, there's the Bloodletter, you know, combo, you know, just instant win, you know, type of thing. So I just wanted to throw it out there that, you know, I'm not super interested about building around it, but I probably will have a deck around that. And then Valgavoth, the Terror Eater, 6 for 3 black, 9/9 flying lifelink, sacrifice, you know, 3 9/9 permanence ward. You know, and then you get, you know, if a card from your opponent gets put in from anywhere, you exile it instead. So if I mill the opponent, all those mill cards get exiled, and then I can cast those exiled cards with life. And it's a 9/9, so if you can cast 9 value, you know, maybe probably 20 value worth of life if you're at full life still. Obviously, you know, this is like the new Atraxa type of thing, so we're, you know, gonna build around that. But just honorable mention categories right now. And then Enduring Vitality, 1 mana, 2 green, 3/3. You know, creatures you control have tap and add that mana, blah blah. You know, if it dies, it comes back as an enchantment. And there's that one combo I saw in the early access event where, you know, you get that otter out and you just infinite combo. So, you know, I just wanted to throw that out as a good card. Not necessarily gonna build a deck around that combo, but maybe there's some other shenanigans we could do with it in the future. And then, you know, a couple more honorable mentions. Paranormal Analyst, 1 mana, 1 blue, 1/3. When you manifest red, you put a card from, you know, put a card you put in your graveyard this way into your hand. So you basically, when you manifest dread, normally you put a, you know, you look at the top 2, put 1 face down, the other one gets discarded into the graveyard. So this one you would put 1 face down, and the other one you would put into your hand. So, you know, just kind of a nice honorable mention. You know, we will be, you know, building manifest dread or a disguise deck type of situation. So I just wanted to put that as an honorable mention. And then Tale of Tamio, 2 and a blue. Mill 2 cards. If the 2 cards are the same type, then you do it again. And so that's for the first 3 sagas. And then exile any number of target sorcery, instant, and or Tamio Planeswalker cards from your graveyard. Copy them. You may cast any number of the copies. So you still have to pay mana for those copies. But I did see, you know, the Slime Against Humanity works pretty good with this card, so we'll probably be building that deck at some point. I just want to throw it in as honorable mention. Okay. And then Disturbing Mirth, 1 black, 1 red. When it enters, you may sacrifice an enchantment or a creature. If you do, you draw 2 cards. So 2 mana, you draw 2 cards for sacrificing 1 thing. Pretty sweet. And then it can sacrifice itself for if you have multiple copies of this card. So just, you know, looks really good in early access. A little power card. I just wanted to throw, you know, some of those in there. And the Saw Blade, Skin Ripper, 1 and 1 black, 1 red for 3/2 with Menace. And you could pay 2 to sacrifice another creature or enchantment, put a +1/+1 counter on the Skin Ripper. And then at the beginning of your end step, if you sacrificed 1 or more permanents this turn, Saw Blade Skin Ripper deals that much damage to any target. So if you sacrifice 2 permanents at your end step, it's going to do 2 damage to any target. So it just looks pretty cool as a card. You know, nice honorable mention, our final honorable mention. And then let's get into black for, I think there's about 20 cards, no particular order. Just cards I'm excited about building about, and maybe we could talk about, you know, how I intend to use them. So Enduring Tenacity, 2 and 2 black for a 4/3. It's one of us, you know, one of the glimmers. I think we have like almost all the enduring cards as things that are interesting to build around. But when you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So, you know, there's Orzhov is a pretty nice deck for that 3 mana spell where you gain life equal to the number of cards in your hand. You know, there's another card in black that I haven't built around. It's like Star Fathom or something, and you draw X cards, but you pay X life. So, you know, you can combo those two together along with the Tenacity. And, you know, let's say I have 7 mana, I draw 6 cards, take 6 damage, and then so now that's 6 additional cards in my hand, and then I play the other one, and then I gain 6 life, and you take 6 life. Not to mention you probably have more cards in your hand as well. So that's just an initial thought. There's also a lifelink deck. You know, if you have lifelink creatures, big lifelink, you know, you have instant speed lifelink that you could cast on something big, and it's basically double damage. You know, maybe you have double strike as well, type of situation. Just a nice card. Live or Die, 3 and 2 black. For an instant, you return a target creature from your graveyard to the battlefield. That's all I need to say. Instant speed reanimation. Been trying to do it with the Valley, whatever it is, Otter, Floodcaller, I think it is, where you could cast, you know, spells on, you know, with flash. But this is just a card that's just one card in itself. So, you know, Bhagavath, instant speed, Defender. So then you gain 9 life and exile one of their creatures that you blocked, and then you, on your turn, you can cast that creature. You know, pretty good. Meat Hook Massacre 2, XX, black, 4 black pips. And, you know, the original Meat Hook Massacre was devastating. This one, people aren't that high on. They're like, think it's expensive, but I think it's pretty good price. 4 mana, just to get it out there. Like, you don't even need to sacrifice anything. I don't need to spend 6 mana on this. I could put 4 out there. I don't know if we could cheat it into play. That's another option, you know. Maybe, you know, you manifest dread it and then you flip it up somehow. Might be an idea. I don't know. 4 mana is not too bad. 4 blacks might be hard, but, you know, whenever a creature dies, you may pay 3. If you do, return it under your control finality counter. And then if you're blinking stuff anyway, you can blink them to get rid of the finality counters. And then whenever a creature an opponent control dies, they can pay 3 life, or if not, you get that control of that creature with a finality counter on it. I mean, I think people are downplaying this, and I don't know. I think it'll be fun to build around. Moving on to green, Hauntwood Shrieker, 1 and 2 green for 3/3, and when it attacks, you manifest dread, and you can spend 2 to reveal a face-down permanent. If it's a creature card, you can turn it face up. So it also works for disguise creatures. So you could disguise a creature, turn it face up. We already made the Frog Assassin deck, you know, that was looking at disguise, and Manifest Dread seems to be maybe even better than disguise, just because there's like a lot of cards that you can get face down. And then if you have the assassin in there, you turn a face down card face up, and the assassin's going to do the damage equal to its power. So it's for 2 mana, you could give like 8 damage. That's just pretty crazy. So I think this, the Manifest Dread mechanic, I think is going to be pretty powerful. Head Shredder, 2 and 2 green, 5/5, vehicle, artifact. When it attacks, you may mill 2 cards, and then whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from your library, put them into the battlefield tapped. So whenever you mill cards, it goes into the battlefield tapped. And Crew of 1 is pretty good. I'm just excited to build around this. Obviously, you know, there's the landfall decks. That's pretty good. Even just a mill ramp, and, you know, there's the Micro Tyrant that always gets me every time you try to make a good deck around it. And a new card comes out, and you're like, more milling comes out. Try to make the Micro Tyrant work. So we're probably going to play with that again and fail. But, yeah, Head Shredder, not too bad. Horrid Vigor, 1 and 1 blue. Oh my god. Words. 1 and 1 green. Target creature gains Death Touch. Don't need to read anymore. It says something about indestructible, but who cares? In green, trample and death touch. All the trample, one trample damage goes to the blocker, the rest of it goes to your face. It's pretty much like killing a creature. Oh, and did I say we got indestructible? I mean, common, no one's talking about this card, but for green, trample's the thing, and death touch is, I have to play other colors just to play death touch on green. Now, we got it. Moving on to red, enduring courage, 2 and 2 red, 3/3. When another creature you control enters, it gets +2/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. And when this dies, it's another enduring, so when it dies, it becomes like an enchantment. So then you have that permanently. Ridiculous. I've already seen some ridiculous things, but let's just talk about rats for a second, right? The Song of Totensan. Whatever. We could have 5 mana. We cast the Enduring Courage on turn 4. Turn 5, we have 5 mana. So we put out 4 rats that are 3/3. And 4 times 3 is what? 12? 12 power on the board for 5 mana? That's just one thought. There's other things that you could put out that you want to give haste to. I put this Atali out for 7 mana, and then I attack you with it for 9. A 9/7 trampler. It's pretty good. The Razorkin Needlehead. 2 red, 2/2. It has first strike on your turn. When an opponent draws a card, deals 1 damage to them. We tried to make the Shelly deck. I worked with, red, black, and blue. Tried red and black. And it was just missing this card, I think, and missing probably some other cards, but definitely excited to build around forcing the opponent to draw extra cards and being able to control their draws. I think there's another card. Oh yeah, there's the what's it called? Winter? Yeah, Winter, where it makes them discard. So, maybe combining this with discard effects might be a good idea. I don't know. The Roller Crusher Ride. X and 2 and a red. Legendary enchantment. So, just the note. You can't use multiple of these. If you have Delirium, so if you have 4 different permanents in your graveyard, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to a permanent or player, while there are 4 more card types in your graveyard, it deals double that damage instead. Delirium, to be said, graveyard hate could be a thing that comes. We've talked about that in the past many times. It's never come, so I wouldn't expect it to come again. Maybe a little bit here and there, but not for like a main deck, right? It's maybe best of 3 sideboard is probably where you would see it. I don't play best of 3. Maybe I'll start. I don't know. I doubt it. If best of 1 becomes mono red, 2 turn kills, then maybe I'll go to 3, best of 3, but right now we're best of 1 channel. So, and then when Roller Crusher Ride enters, it deals X damage to up to X target creatures. So, that part's not really important. It's about the double damage, and maybe kill 1 or 2 creatures that the opponent has. There's also that one card, the Pyroclasm or Pyromancer. Oh, but that targets 1 or more creatures, I think that one says. But whenever you do damage to a creature, it does it to the opponent. But moving on to blue, Abhorrent Oculus, 2 and 0 blue for a 5/5. As an additional cost to cast this, exile 6 cards from your graveyard as flying, and at the beginning of each opponent's upkeep, manifest dread. So you put a 2/2 down, face down, discard, and the other one goes to your graveyard. Yeah, casting it sucks, but blue, white, helping hand for 1 mana, cheated in. The deck already exists. We just replace the Monetary Swift Spear. Replace white altogether, and there's a black card. I forget what it's called, but you can have it if it targets a target 3 or less. It's like 2 mana to cast it to reanimate. I have to put it on the screen, but black has plenty of reanimation stuff that you can do for cheap, and not to mention manifest dread. Put it face down, pay 3 mana, turn it face up. Just a powerhouse of a card. Birds and copying this card is pretty good. Leyline of Transformation, 2 and 2 blue. If it's in your hand, you could, at the beginning of the game, put it on the battlefield for free. And then when it enters, you choose a creature type. Creature's chosen type are saying, addition to their other types. Same is true for creature spells you control and creature cards you own that aren't on the board. So, you pick ninjas. You play Kaido. Everything you have is a ninja. Now you buff ninjas. That's just the initial thought. But also, you could do anything. There's Phyrexian, where, you can only cast one Phyrexian spell a turn, or your opponent can only, cast one. There's vampires, buffs. There's goblins to buff, It's like, just turn everything into goblins, and then you're playing a goblin deck, right? And if you're not, like, super dependent on it, then... maybe it's not too bad. The rock collar, looking for specific types, you just make every creature that type, and it makes deck building a little bit easier. So some good ideas there. The Mind Skinner, 3 blue for 10/1. It's a legendary enchantment creature, so it can be exiled with Terra Sunder, which is going to be a card that's going to be powerful. And the Mind Skinner can't be blocked. And if a source you control would deal damage to an opponent, prevent that damage, and each opponent mills that many cards. Yeah, that's pretty cool. But I'm looking to Final Showdown and hit you for 10 damage. Or I'm looking to double strike you for milling 20 cards. Or maybe I Final Showdown, then double strike you to give you 20 damage. And moving on to white. Reluctant Role Model, 1 and 1 white for 2/2. Human Survivor. Human's pretty interesting. Nice human deck coming together, I think. It has survival. So survival is if it's tapped at the second main phase, then you get to do something. It's a new mechanic. And so if the Reluctant Role Model is tapped, you put a flying counter, a lifelink counter, or a +1/+1 counter on it. And then this is the part that makes this card really good and really fun to build around, is whenever Reluctant Role Model or another creature you control dies, if it had counters on it, put those counters up to one target creature. So obviously if you have stun counters or -1/1 counters, creature dies, it can move those onto any of the opponent's creatures. Or if you have, other stuff like indestructibility somehow, or I don't know, that wouldn't die, but some other counter, you can move it along. Oil counters are pretty nice too, right? It's a nice build around. Split up. 1 and 2 white. Choose one. Sorcery, choose one. Destroy all tapped creatures or destroy all untapped creatures. So yeah. I want to get this at instant speed with the Valley Rod Collar? No, not Rod Collar. Flood Collar. And cast it on the opponent's turn after they swing in an attack. And I'll kill all tapped creatures at instant speed for 3 mana, and I'll untap all my creatures. That's what I want to do. Marvin, Murderous Mimic, 2. Marvin has all activated abilities of creatures you control that don't have the same name as this creature. So any other creatures, basically. Obviously it works with Kaido. Turns them into Kaido. There's also another card from, I think it's OTJ or Aftermath maybe, where it turns a Planeswalker into a creature. So if you had that card, and turn your Planeswalker into a creature, or it turns all Planeswalkers into creatures, maybe. I don't even know. I don't know if they lose their abilities, though. That'll be the only thing about that card. But I'm sure there's plenty of other creatures that we want to have activated abilities copied of. So Marvin, just quite interesting. Arabella, Abandoned Dowel, 1 and 1 white. Legendary artifact toy. Whenever it attacks, it deals X damage to each opponent, and you gain X life, where X is the number of creatures you control with power 2 or less. Just big and wide decks, and you gain a ton of life. Enough said. See that coming soon. Inquisitive Glimmer, 1 white, 1 blue. Enchantment spells cost 1 less to cast. Unlock cost 1 less to cast. Or less to cost. Cost you pay less. Unlock. Cost you pay cost 1 less. It's pretty rough. So yeah, there's gonna be an Azorius enchantments deck, and I tried to make one before, Duskmourn, but there's just so many cards in Duskmourn where it's just futile to do that. So yeah, excited about that one. Kaito, the Bane of Nightmares, 2 and a blue and a black. That's our Planeswalker ninjutsu. So you could sneak it in, and then all ninjas get +1/+1. Just constantly doing that is ridiculous. It does some other stuff too. You surveil, draw a card if opponent lost life. So that means you ninja him in. You could draw a card, replace himself, assuming that he obviously didn't die because he attacked unblocked when he came into the battlefield and it has hexproof, type of thing. Although if I flash in the split up, then I could kill him, so he can't use his ability. But and -2 tap target creature, put 2 stun counters on it. Could be coming into play a little bit. It's helpful, tap down a blocker, so then you can attack in. It's pretty good. Nico, Light of Hope, 2 a blue, white and a blue. And when Nico enters, you make 2 shard tokens. So multiple copies of Nico is pretty good, as you can cast it. You legend rule it, but then now you have 4 shards out, and then you could exile a non-legendary creature you control. Shards become copies of that until the beginning of your next end step, and then you return it to the battlefield under its goal at the beginning of the next end step. So for 2 mana, you can turn, maybe 4 shards. And not to mention, shards are tokens, and blue has, the copy tokens. So we can copy tokens. It has 3 blind mice as well that copies tokens. So, shards could be on par with, spirit copying, right? Like, just make a bunch of spirit copies, and then you get a big flyer out there, and exile target non-legendary creature. And Jolly Blue Man, 1/1 red, 1 white, 1/4 haste. Pay 1, so for 4 mana. Is how you really want to cast this on turn 4. Just create a token copy of another creature, except it's 1/1 balloon with flying, and then you sacrifice at the beginning of the next end step. And you can copy legendary creatures if you want. So, yeah. Copy Nico. Just a thought. But yeah, those are my top 20, 20 cards I'm looking forward to building with. And, just wanted to go over those. So, yeah, this has been Told. Like and subscribe. Looking forward to see you in Duskmourn.